This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. With agriculture broadcasters Orion Samuelson and Max Armstrong. And featuring agriculture meteorologist Greg Soulje. This Week in Agribusiness is brought to you by Pioneer. Proud to work with farmers in the most complex and rewarding industry on earth.
Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and while it may look a little different this year, there is some good news with turkey pricing. Hello, folks. Welcome to This Week in Agribusiness. We're pleased you took the time to join us. As we look ahead to this next week, of course, it is Thanksgiving. And even though we might not all be able to get together the way we have in the past, a lot of folks are still going to get out there and fix Thanksgiving dinner. So let's talk pricing. Joining us now is John Newton, the chief economist from the American Farm Bureau Federation. And John, every year you guys let us know what the cost of Thanksgiving dinner looks like. How's it shaping up in 2020?
Well, we've been doing this survey for 35 years, and this year, while it's been challenging, is no different. We had volunteer shoppers, 200 or so across the country, surveying the price of the classic Thanksgiving dinner. And this year, the average price for a group of 10, a family of 10, was $46.90. That was down about 4% from what we saw last year. And the biggest item that saw the largest price decline was turkey. Turkey prices came in at $1.21, down nearly 7%. And the total price for this year's Thanksgiving dinner is going to be the lowest that we've seen since 2010.
Well, that's a spot of good news after a challenging year for folks who want to get together. John, when you say the price of turkey is $1.21 a pound, of course, that's going to differ regionally. What are you seeing for a spread in turkey prices?
Well, USDA had reported a spread of turkey prices anywhere between 27 cents per pound and $1.99 per pound, with about 80% of retailers running promotions. What we saw in our survey results were turkey prices anywhere between 29 cents per pound in parts of Wisconsin, Delaware, and then up to $2.99 a pound for that free-range grass-fed turkey.
Gotcha. When you look at the list of ingredients, or the list of items, rather, for a Thanksgiving dinner, other than turkey, have there been any big price moves this year?
You know, the other major item that we saw a price move was on whipping cream. And I think the struggles of the dairy industry this year has been well documented. We've seen butter prices move significantly lower this year compared to last year. And so whipping cream prices came in at $1.74 per pint this year. That's compared to more than $2 a pint last year, and that's a decline of 16%.
Wow, pretty substantial decline. And John, when you look around the country for this Thanksgiving meal, of course, a lot of folks are going to be dining with fewer groups than 10. So are you expecting to see greater demand for smaller turkeys this year?
Well, I think what we've seen is many of the leading turkey producers have indicated that they still plan to roll out your 16 to 24 pound turkey. I think with the affordability of turkey this year, families are going to be able to afford that larger turkey and perhaps enjoy leftovers for a little bit longer this year.
Well, that's the thing. One of the great things about Thanksgiving, of course, is turkey sandwiches for a week or more after. John, when you look at the challenges that have been faced this year and the recent survey, what lessons can you take from it? What do our viewers need to know heading into Thanksgiving week?
Well, I think when we did a survey recently of the public's perception of farmers, and now more than ever, I think they realize and appreciate the value of our agricultural producers around the country. The fact that we've kept food on the tables across this country through a pandemic shows that our farmers and ranchers are still farming, and I think people have a greater appreciation from where their food comes from today. Absolutely.
A lot of challenges this year. John, before we let you go, any thoughts as we head into 2021 from the Farm Bureau?
Well, I think we've seen prices really move upward the last few months. We're looking at soybean prices that we haven't seen in 4 years. Corn prices over 4. We've seen pork prices move up. So certainly a better demand outlook. The supplies have gotten a little bit tighter too on the grain and oilseed side. So that's certainly helped. I think people are a little more optimistic moving into 2021, but we need to see all that demand materialize. We need to see China remain committed to the Phase 1 agreement and take those outstanding export commitments and turn them into actual shipments. I think that's critical to monitor trade as we continue through the marketing year. And then we need to get COVID-19 behind us, get our restaurants back open, and that's going to help our meat demand.
Absolutely. John Newton, American Farm Bureau. Well, talking prices, we've got to talk commodity prices. Joining us today is Dave Bauer from Provimi, a division of Cargill Animal Nutrition. Dave, you are in the hog space. When you take a look at this past year and this year going forward, what's your headline when it comes to the hog markets?
Well, I think you have to mention China. And from a demand standpoint for pork and from a competitive standpoint in feed grains, China has driven the market to this point. And I think we'll continue to see that, whether it be on the pork side or whether that be on the grain side.
Well, and that's the thing. Over the past several weeks, well, 2 months almost, we've been talking about the rally in the grains. We haven't seen it nearly as pronounced in the meat markets. When you look at Chinese demand here in this year ahead, do you think they're going to continue buying at the same pace they have been on the pork side here in the U.S.?
And that is the million-dollar question. And they've got a lot of pork on the books. And I think they, just this past week on Thursday, they did go into 2021 and put out one of the biggest purchases we've seen thus far in 2021. And I think they will continue to be a buyer, and we'll be watching those shipments closely as well, because they've got a big book on the purchase, and we'll see when they start, or we want them to continue to be shipping that pork. Into 2021, there's a lot of talk about China growing their hog herd and being able to produce their own pork. And, you know, that's a very complex question as well, deserves a complex answer when it comes to the sow herd versus the hog production herd, and then how that comes into pork production.
Well, and I think that opens up a question that a lot of folks have asked. When we listen to China talking about their domestic markets, how much can we trust those numbers, or what do you rely on when you're looking at Chinese hog herd growth going forward?
Well, one of the key things that we'll rely on are those consultants that travel to China 100 to 150 days a year, and they've not been able to do that since January. So our typical information flow has not been able to really get good, solid information. What you see out of China today is basically what they want you to see, and it's very difficult to be able to really understand that. And when they compare increases in production to prior year, last year at this time was the absolute bottom of production, or the lowest part of their herd, whether it be the sow herd or the hog herd. And so when we compare to that, we're comparing to a very low level. But the question you always need to answer is, what are we comparing to?
What are we comparing to? And I think the question is, what is China looking to buy? Earlier in the pandemic, we saw China buying a lot of whole hogs, or half hogs anyway, and then they were completing the cutting domestically. Yeah. As you look ahead to this year, do you anticipate that to continue? Are they jumping in whole hog, so to speak?
I would say, yeah, they continue to be on the whole hog. I think they prefer that. And we'll have to see. We're gonna have to get used to them being into the market and out of the market. Mm-hmm. That's just their style. And a lot of times we have to deal with them also canceling purchases.
When would you anticipate them to start canceling, if they are going to?
Well, and I don't necessarily think that we'll start to see those cancellations, or I don't think we need to be expecting that. I think the first thing we have to look at is their Chinese New Year, and that's a demand time of year, and we typically could see some purchases coming into that.
All right, we'll be back talking grains right after this. This portion of This Week in Agribusiness is brought to you by the Soybean Checkoff. Tips, videos, how-tos, and more. If it has to do with ag tech, you'll find it in the Tech Tool Shed, your unbiased one-stop resource. We're talking commodity prices with Dave Bauer. Dave, when you look at this fall, we have seen grain producers rejoicing after this rally in the grain markets. However, it has put livestock producers in a pinch. How should folks, livestock producers in particular, be managing this margin heading into the winter?
Yes, and that does become an issue. And when you look at the time of year that it is, it's a fall time, and typically during harvest we don't see the kind of rally that we've seen this year. And it started well, back in September, when USDA reduced carrying stocks by 258 million bushel. That was a big change to the crop as we came into this year. There's another thing that really is playing big into it, and that's China and the purchases that China have on the books. Typically in an average year we see, or I should say from a purchase standpoint, the purchases that they have this year, if they take all those purchases, that would be close to 1,000% more than they have over the last 3 years. So that in itself, they have banned swill feeding in China due to the African swine fever and trying to control that. So not only can they not originate feed from swill feeding, they have had some crop damage, maybe 5–10% of their crop lost to flood, so they have to originate feed. And so ownership, 9/10 of the law, as they say, China has come in and put a very big book on, which is going to compete with the U.S. producer when it comes to feed. So if they haven't already, they're going to definitely need to be preparing for 2021 and feed costs, and I don't know that we're done with where we are today. I think my model would show that with a 1.7 billion bushel carryover in corn, 404 in March corn is a good base price, and then you can add some premium to that. So trading in the 430 range now, that's probably fair value, but there are some thoughts that could continue to work higher.
So for producers who were maybe relying on harvest season in anticipation of getting some cheaper grain with regard to basis, how should they be managing those prices going forward? Should we be buying just straight off the combine and then hedging?
Well, there's a lot of the corn that came off the combine went into storage. And with beans doing what they did, producers sold beans off the combine to take advantage of that market, and now they have to pry that corn off of the farm. So we have seen basis levels firming in some regions, and where that's pulling it out. Another thing to think about as well is with the vaccine talk that we've seen for COVID, if we start to see a population that's becoming more confident and more healthy and traveling more, that's going to be more gas usage and then more potential blending for corn. For ethanol. So there's a tug of war that could potentially happen on down the road as well, trying to pull that corn off farm, going to the river for export, going to ethanol, or going to feed use.
Dave, before we let you go, this past year has seen a lot of challenges for food service, restaurants, hospitals, schools, etc. As you look at this winter, is that starting to come back?
Well, we started to see that come back, and then with another surge in COVID, across rural America, we've seen things slow down a little bit, and I think the retail level will continue to be strong, but we can only hope that we can keep the demand going from all levels of food service.
Thanks to Dave Bauer from Provimi. Appreciate the conversation.
Chad Colby's look at agriculture technology comes your way next, brought to you by the IBM Watson Decision Platform. Combining AI with Internet of Things data to help agribusiness increase yields, improve quality, and drive sustainability.
Well, folks, the holidays are almost upon us, which means we're turning to our friend Chad Colby for this year's gift guide, and this is a two-parter, so stay tuned for next week. Chad, let's talk. There's all kinds of great gifts out there. I want to start talking about books. There's incredible literature related to agriculture this year. What do you got?
Yeah, our friends at Octane Press have done an amazing job. Many of you have seen them with their series on red tractors, red combines, all that fun stuff, but this year they've got some new releases. I'm showing the book right here is if you're a commercial, maybe construction guy. It's all about the history of Caterpillar. We're talking back in the early 1900s. It's really cool stuff.
That is very cool. And then this book here, this is a very heavy hardback book. Look at the history of tractors.
Yeah, if you scroll through that book, it's really impressive. It shows all the brands and really gives a real kind of overview of the tractor history. It's so neat. And you can actually get that with a red cover on it or a green cover, Mike, so depending on what your flavor of tractor is.
That's right. You got to know who you're buying for. And it's so cool. These books, obviously, this book, in fact, has great images. But these books aren't the only places to get great pictures, Chad.
Yeah, I mean, look at these calendars. These calendars are amazing. If you haven't seen them, we have to open these up so you can kind of get a glimpse of what they are.
It's incredible. And Chad, these are great gifts for the big farmer on your list. But if you've got a little farmer on your list, you've got some great books for kids.
Oh my gosh, you're going to see the grin. I've got little people at home, so check this out. They've got, Octane Press has got a series of books for kids, and they got some new releases this year. It's really neat what they've done, and you know, like myself, when it comes to history, it's great to see old tractors where kids can draw them. It's fun.
It is. And we've also got the Tech on the Farm from Case IH, geared for kids, helps them understand what's happening in the equipment on the farm.
Yeah, it's really cool. You can find all these books at octanepress.com. When I ordered this stuff, I got it in just a few days, so it's available and ready to go right away for the holidays.
Perfect. But folks, don't wait till the last minute. They're available now. Get on there and grab them. And Chad, wouldn't be a Chad Colby segment without talking technology. This is a fancy new GoPro. Tell me a little bit about all the extra stuff we've got on here.
Yeah, so the next generation of GoPro is called the Hero 9, and it's completely changed as far as technology goes. But what I really am excited about on this is they've taken it to the next level. All those attachments that you see around the camera, such as the lens, the case, the microphone, the light, and even that forward-facing screen are all modifications that you can buy for your camera to make it a lot more useful. With built-in stabilization and high image quality, Mike, this is a really, really great tool, especially if you're involved in marketing in any way, shape, or form. It's pretty neat how people are using those today.
It is. And Chad, this is the kind of thing you can use to shoot footage of tractors out in the field. In fact, you used a GoPro, I believe, on your drone to shoot some footage of Big Bud at Farm Progress.
Yeah.
And now we've got a little Big Bud.
Yeah, listen, there's nothing better than this thing. So, as most of you I'm sure have heard, Big Bud got some new shoes, and at the Farm Progress show, even though it was virtual, the tractor was there before it went out to Montana, and in kind of celebration of that, they came out with a toy model, and it's a limited production, but it's got the big LSW tires on it. And Mike, don't get any ideas. This one's coming home with me, but they are available, and you can buy them right now.
You can farm a lot of carpet with that machine. And Chad, before we go, you've got a new keyboard on your iPad.
You know, this is something that we've talked about on the tech segment, and we've talked about the practicality of tablets for years. And when you added the functionality of the new Magic Keyboard, it really works well. And Mike, it's so easy to demonstrate. Is this tablet just magnetically mounts to it, and the best part about it is then you're in business.
You're in business, plug and play. Chad Colby will be back with us next week with more great gifts for your holidays. Welcome back to This Week in Agribusiness. Over the past 2 months, we have seen an incredible rally in row crop pricing. And our question was, what has that done to land values? To help us understand it, we are going to turn to our friend Ray Brownfield from LandPro LLC. Ray, thanks for taking the time to chat with us this week.
Thank you for being on. I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, some pretty exciting times right now in land values, spurred by some. Who would have thought we'd see commodity prices do what they've done in the last 30 days or even the last 2 weeks? So, yeah, pretty exciting. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely, Ray. You know, one of the themes earlier this year when we looked at land sales was that there just wasn't a lot on the market. It was a very, very tight market. As you look out today to survey the scene here post-harvest, are we seeing more real estate come up for sale?
Yeah, we do, and traditionally that happens this time of the year between normally after harvest all the way through probably February. Not unusual at all, and I don't see any more on the market now than I did even last year. In fact, is maybe even a little less. I'm wondering if people think, you know, maybe we shouldn't be selling at this time with things looking a little rosier in the agricultural sector.
Well, you know, that's a really good point. When prices come up at the farm gate, a lot of growers think, maybe we should stick in this another year. What has happened with real estate prices? For the listings that are out there, are you seeing prices get stronger here along with this rally in the grains?
We have, but it's really segmented. The Class A, the really high quality soils that are well drained, highly tillable. Yeah, that market's probably in the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks, it's up, maybe in some areas up as much as 5 to 10%. It might have been, let's say, before all this 10.5, now it's reaching 11, maybe 11.5. We've seen some auctions go at 12, and we've heard of one at 14 the other day in Western Illinois. So, but those are segmented. Those are very specialized markets where they're just really good soil, good farm, near to somebody or more than one buyer who says, you know, I always wanted this farm, I'm going to add it to what I have. So that's what we see in that sector. But not all farmland it's optimistic, I think, right now, but it's not all quite what you hear sometimes in the news.
Well, that's the thing. So the best of the best is still commanding the highest bids. For that mid-range farm ground or pasture ground, are you seeing a whole lot of interest in that from a buyer's perspective?
Some, but not nearly as much. It's really income driven right now, and I understand it. I think as we look at history, high quality, quality soil always does better in the long pull, better returns. Yeah, it takes some money to get into that market, but when you got it, and it rarely goes down much, if any. It always is an upward swing. So the other stuff that you're talking about that's less tillable, drainage issues, maybe some streams and ditches through it, it's a market I think will get a little better. I think some of this A quality maybe will pull that up as well. We've seen that happen in the past, so we hope that's the case.
Yeah, and Ray, when you think about the folks that are making the decision to list farm ground, of course, that's a huge decision. It's not something taken lightly. And since we did just come through a presidential election, we're looking at a new administration come January. Are you hearing folks make plans for taxes, or what is driving, I guess, sellers in this market right now?
I think what we can tell right now, it's still a case of where it's families that have gotten to the age level they want to distribute. But I have heard some recent discussions about tax implications of maybe an estate tax change that could have an effect on the market. Maybe the 1031 tax deferred exchange may change. So it has some growing concern right now, but I don't think it's big yet. I think people are kind of watching, but right now I think most of the buyers or sellers are saying, you know, it's just time to sell. It's time to distribute our income and go to the cash market, and everybody goes down the road happy.
Gotcha. Now, Ray, when you look out at the makeup of sales, back in the commodity boom 2012, 2013, it seemed like every farm that got sold was sold at an auction. And a few years ago, we started to see some more listings come back to the market. As we sit here in 2020, what way are most folks looking to sell? Are they going listing, or are they doing an auction?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we recommend too is to people that if it's high quality in a really highly competitive market, really you need to go auction to get that top dollar. That's just probably the best way to do it, particularly in this kind of market where there's more demand for the high quality. But we also recommend it where it's not so high quality. Maybe it's an area a little weaker buying situation. Be careful, because once you put it out there on auction, if it doesn't sell at the price you want, everybody knows what that price was. It kind of puts a stigma on that property. So you got to be careful. I think the main thing is people who are thinking about selling, get with a really good professional broker to give them that kind of information they need, and give them the right way to go, because all of us can do auctions or private treaty. We can go both ways, but I think we owe it to those people to give them the right advice.
Absolutely. It's certainly worth having that conversation. Ray, the last time we had you on, we were discussing COVID and the potential of a lot of folks to leave cities and move to rural areas. Is that something you have seen in your listing? Are you getting city folks looking to buy spots out in the country?
We're starting to see that, so at least some indications. I'm showing a property tomorrow downstate, Illinois, that may be those kind of people. We hope they are. But they have to be educated as well. So what are they buying? And understanding it's not just a matter of moving out of the city and say, oh, gee, here we are, isn't this great? They don't understand snow removal. They don't understand a lot of things that we deal with when we're in the country that they're not usually used to in the city. So it's an educational process. But to answer your question more shortly, yeah, we're seeing some more interest in that sector, no question about it.
All right, starting to see things change out in farm country. Ray Brownfield with LandPro LLC, thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry, is brought to you by ADM.
Thanks for joining us here on This Week in Agribusiness. Every year, farmers are faced with the difficult decision, how much do you spend on your crop? As growers are out there making those decisions and they're analyzing whether or not these things pay, we see more and more growers looking to apply fungicide every year and just consider it an investment in their crop health. In this week's Plant Smart, Grow Smart series, we talked to some growers in Illinois who have done just that.
What's your strategy in crop production? Denny, talk a little bit about this first. How do you approach it? I mean, do you readily take on new technology, or do you want to say, let me see Jim or someone else try it?
I guess you could probably classify me as an early adopter. I came from an engineering background, so that is very intriguing to me. So I've had a yield monitor since the original Ag Leader. Was very early to get in on the auto steer and all that.
When fungicides came along, when did you start utilizing those?
Oh, maybe 5 years ago. I tried some here and there. Sometimes I got a result, sometimes I didn't. Just wasn't really totally on board with it at that time.
Jim, yourself? What about yourself and fungicide usage?
Yeah, we probably go back more like 10 years.
How do you approach your usage of it? I mean, do you wait to see what the season looks like, or you look at the possible return given the market price? How do you look at that?
We've seen those years when disease levels aren't very high, and yet we've seen some of our best returns in those years. I remember one year the university said, "Oh, you know, low disease this year. Don't worry about spraying." And at the end of the year, everybody that sprayed was really happy because we were 20 and 25 bushel better. So some of that benefits, other benefits besides just disease.
When you're talking about that kind of yield gain, there are years when it's a real home run then. It's not just a little bit of an increase.
Right. We just look at it as an investment in that crop, just like the other inputs, and knowing over time, you could call it an insurance policy, you could call it an investment, but over time it's going to pay. And sometimes it doesn't pay to try to outguess the diseases in Mother Nature.
Denny, do you generally see a lot of disease pressure across your fields?
Not generally, actually. We're in a pretty good area. But as time has gone on, like Jim said, we've seen the benefits in good years and bad years weather-wise, and all along our agronomists have been saying your best payback on anything you do in the crop is a fungicide. And it's taken a little while for that to, I guess, get instilled in my brain. And particularly with the trials I've done the last 2 years, it certainly gives me the confidence to go ahead and do it.
Extra bushels are always appreciated, but certainly in a year like this one. To learn more and to see all of our Plan Smart, Grow Smart series, visit the website. You can check it out at plansmartgrowsmart.com.
Now, agriculture meteorologist Greg Soulje brings us his farm weather forecast for the nation for the week ahead. It's presented by Pivot BioProven, the nitrogen-producing microbes that stay put, weather or not.
Well, let's talk weather. Greg, looking to the week ahead out in the West Coast, heard from some growers that citrus harvest is getting underway.
Yep.
What's the forecast look like this week out there?
Still busy north into the Pacific Northwest, and we've seen some moisture northern California, farther south into some of that citrus country. Not much going on. That is a trademark of La Nina. Get used to it. The action here, little or none down to the south. And a pretty substantial weather system will make its move early in the week down towards Yellowstone, and quick off to the east she goes. Moisture in northern California. Snow has been substantial across the Cascades, and it is a fast-moving feature on this 150 to 100 mile-an-hour jet stream. As it comes down, the wind pattern off the northern and central Rockies. We get some Chinook warming early in the week, back into a little more seasonal feel across the Dakotas. No super cold air in sight with the next weather system on its heels. So again, recharge, drought improvement, mountain snow, just what the weather doctor ordered out there. Here, a different story, maybe an offshore flow, some wind issues, Southern California, Santa Ana, the warmth in the desert Southwest. The chill is seasonal across much of the central and southern plains until we get those winds to come off the Rockies. Milder air once again moving back into play, and dry time too. The drought weather pattern continues on into much of the central and southern plains. A fast-moving dry front west to east over the end portion of the week. A stray shower, Napa on northward. Delightful outdoor work weather, but nary precipitation precipitation droplet inside across the southwest here in the days to come.
Now, Greg, you mentioned that 150-mile-an-hour jet stream. Is that going to be bringing a series of events to the northern Corn Belt?
It will. Fast-moving disturbances and, of course, uptick on temperatures. You marry up those upper-level winds, draw them in from the south, and you get a windy weather pattern, and none too worse than seasonal temperatures on any of these drop-off and readings, and we'll see that back to more seasonal norms of this fast-moving boundary, the cold air up towards the Canadian Prairie, mild westerly winds across the northern and central plains. No big issues for holiday travel, by the way, although most are going to probably stay close to home. Rain showers towards Thanksgiving into the central and southern plains. A nice warm-up slated for much of the northern and eastern Corn Belt. Plenty of opportunity to get out and just get out with a lot of the harvest complete, except for parts of the far eastern complex. Still wet weather issues down here on an outbreak of some showers across the Delta region. Dry time southern plains, seasonal temperatures, and quiet weather desert southwest. A little bit of a boundary here. Maybe a subtropical feature here, and so the wet weather pattern continues on through the Gulf Coast area. Warmth and dry time continues in the drought areas of the southern plains.
Now, I know that eastern Corn Belt is still working to get their corn and beans out of the field. Does this next week have some opportunities for them to get that done?
Yeah, probably some short-term early week delays coming off the weekend rainfall. And of course, I think it's still Michigan and Ohio that are still lagging just a bit. A wet snowflake towards the Motor City. Good news here in this dry, drought-ridden weather pattern. Here is some of that rainfall into the northeastern states. Quiet high pressure across the western Corn Belt. Nice warm front on the move. Temperatures recovering nicely. A great outdoor feel for Thanksgiving. Couple of rain showers western Corn Belt. Still a little feel in wintertime parts of northern New England. Quiet high pressure for the mid-Atlantic region. Southeastern part of the country, those streams and rivers at or better than bankful. Across the Carolinas and more rain. Showers and thunderstorms early in the week. We'll keep an eye on the tropics again. Gulf Coast area late in the week. Otherwise dry time much needed across the mid-Atlantic region towards the holiday.
Now, Greg Soulje is back with his extended farm weather forecast for the country. Presented by Pivot Bio Proven. Visit pivotbio.com to find a representative near you.
Well, Greg, I tell you what, Thanksgiving is quickly approaching. It's here this week, and even though it might be different, there are probably still a lot of folks who will be traveling.
Yeah.
What do you see forecast-wise this next week?
Well, nothing major, no major winter-type storms. You know, we've had that back in the month of October, with the exception of Northern California, the Pacific Northwest, and this is actually good news, particularly as the later portion of the week wears on. Moisture recharge, drought easing, precip in one form or another. Here is the rain snow line in purple, maybe some accumulation up near the Canadian border, at least the potential for that. Looky here, the tropics are still kind of busy down through the Gulf Coast, kind of a hybrid feature that will again exacerbate unneeded rainfall in some of these southeastern portions of the country. Eastern areas, a very manageable setup. Late week moisture on the increase west to east, where we do need a little more rain across sections of the Corn Belt.
Greg, how are things looking as we get into the month of December?
Well, plenty of opportunity to maybe check the equipment shed out, get some of those fences ready to go, move livestock supplies. Look at this, and this is good news from a heating standpoint, I'm sure. Maybe anhydrous applications, not the greatest because we're going to keep these soil temperatures pretty mild, little if any frost or freeze in the ground. So it's a good go of it here as we wind down through the beginning part of meteorological winter time. And hardly a precip echo in sight as well. Much of the plains, Midwest, Corn Belt locales still need it in the drought areas. And here too, still wet down through Florida. Active weather pattern continues to stay focused in the Pacific Northwest.
Now, how about the week after, taking us into mid-December?
Really no super cold air in sight. Look at this jet stream west to east. We get that Chinook warming, or it stays up near the Canadian border. West to east flows are fast moving. They are not conducive to generating significant moisture, but warmth, plenty of it, are running from the Divide to the Ohio to the eastern states. Temperatures no worse than normal across areas of California. Here's the same storm track, Pacific Northwest. Nothing going on here across the northeast of New England. A little snow and rain system there heading towards mid-December.
Now, the week of December 14th, La Nina is in effect. What are you seeing?
It'll be a year of wide-ranging temperatures, and we begin to see that cold air. Look at the squeeze play of readings north to south and a very fast jet stream pattern west to east. So, as you would expect, active weather pattern for the Pacific Northwest through the northern Corn Belt, the Northeast, as well as New England.
Next on This Week in Agribusiness, it's Max's Tractor Shed, spotlighting another great American tractor.
Quite often when you see a tractor that is on tractor rides, you can tell by looking at it. I'll talk about it with this 560 in Max's Tractor Shed. Brought to you by Store Lock Tool Cabinets. When you get one, you'll want to just sit there and look at it. They are so attractive, but they are rugged and durable. Check out the full lineup at storelock.com. Well, Tim Holland did something inventive with his sign on his 560. Now take a look at this. See the paint scheme? It matches the paint scheme on the tractor. But now look at the other side of it. You see the toolbox? Well, that's more than a toolbox. You can tell that's a tractor ride box that Tim Holland has put on this tractor that he restored 12 years ago. Now, he uses it some on their acreage, he said, there in Iowa, but it goes on rides. And in that box, I don't know what Tim has in there, but you'll generally find tools and gloves, maybe a fire extinguisher for a tractor ride, maybe a tow strap. Yeah, you might need to tow someone. And then you never know, there might be a cooler in there. I want to look in Tim Holland's box on his 560 sometime, a 62-year-old 560 at Montezuma, Iowa. Well, we appreciate the chance each weekend to check in with Mark Stock to see what might be coming across the block there at Big Iron Auctions. So we bring in Mark right now. First of all, Mark, we hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. It's great to have you here with us every week, and we appreciate the rundown.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, Max, and to everybody out there, please have a safe, enjoyable Thanksgiving holiday. We've got 112 different sellers from 18 different states that will be selling equipment the day before Thanksgiving on November the 25th. The Larry and Audrey Zuderhoff Farm Retirement Sale in Colton, South Dakota. They've got 66 items. Check out their Freightliner semi-truck tractor, their Case IH 2188 Combine, their Gale 3725 skid steer, and their John Deere 8640 four-wheel drive tractor. Dale Christensen Estate in Caledonia, Illinois will be selling a Cabelco excavator with a FabTech 2000 RP roller head. They've also got a 1981 Deutz DX160 mechanical front tractor. The Fremont County Weed and Pest in Lander, Wyoming. They've got some Polaris Rangers and John Deere Gators selling. B&B Electrical and Utility Contractors in Canton, Mississippi. They've got a John Deere 310 SG loader backhoe. They've got a Case 580 Super M Series 2 loader backhoe as well. Anderson Feed and Hardware from Dahlonega, Georgia. They've got some Mahindra tractors selling on BigIron.com. And check out this rare find, Rodney Sattler from Redding, Kansas. They've got a John Deere 7810 two-wheel drive tractor selling with only 2,601 hours. Check all the equipment out on BigIron.com.
The FFA Chapter Tribute is sponsored by Nationwide, the #1 farm insurer in the country. To register your FFA chapter, go to nationwidesupportsffa.com. That's nationwidesupportsffa.com. Nationwide, we stand for you.
For this week's FFA Chapter Tribute, we are continuing our spotlight on the National Officer Team, and joining us this week is Anna Mathis, the newly named Secretary of National FFA. Anna, thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here.
Well, we're excited to chat with you. For a lot of our viewers who maybe had no experience with FFA, what is the Secretary's role?
Yeah, so the Secretary's role is pretty robust, and there are some different areas to serve. But personally, I am in charge of correspondence during meetings, sometimes preparing that agenda, taking a role at meetings, but also just finding a place to serve within the team looks different for everybody. So that could be encouraging fellow teammates or keeping everybody in line, or maybe even bringing the fun to the meeting. There are some traditional roles, but there are some unique roles that a lot of people share across the country as well.
That is very cool. Now, you just assumed this role, and of course, 2020, 2021, it's interesting with coronavirus. How are the National FFA team prepared to deal with that this year?
Absolutely. I think the team is well prepared to step into that role and not really knowing the future. I know a few of my teammates were state officers last year, and so the end of our year was kind of cut short with COVID, and so we definitely know how that feels. And because we know how that feels and we know how members are feeling, we can bring that unique perspective to the team and be able to move forward with our members in mind. So that looks like being, yeah, sorry, were you saying something?
That's okay. I was just going to say it's a new year, new challenges. What are you most excited about in 2020, 2021, Anna?
I would say I'm most excited about finding creative ways to engage our members. So I'm an ag-comm degree, and so I love finding creative content and creative ways to make sure that our members are staying engaged and that communication is staying open. So I'm excited to see how my team and I look to that for the next year.
Fantastic. Anna Mathis, National Secretary for FFA.
Now, Samuelson Says. Insight and commentary from Orion Samuelson.
In these trying times, as we approach the day that we give thanks here in the United States and then move into the holiday season, I'd like to share with you some words written by an Illinois farmer back in about 1915. Frank Mann wrote A Farmer's Creed, and I quote, "I believe in a permanent agriculture, a soil that will grow richer rather than poorer from year to year. I believe that the only good weed is a dead weed, and that a clean farm is as important as a clean conscience. I believe in the farm boy and in the farm girl, the farmer's best crops and the future's best hope. I believe in the farm woman and will do all in my power to make her life easier and happier. I believe in the country school that prepares for country life, and a country church that teaches the people to love deeply and live honorably. I believe in community spirit, of pride in home and neighbors, and I will do my part to make my community the best in the state. I believe in the farmer. I believe in farm life. I believe in the inspiration of the open country. I am proud to be a farmer, and I will try to earnestly be worthy of that name." The words of an Illinois farmer written back in 1915. His name, Frank Mann. I've quoted it many times in speeches across the country. Some sound thoughts in time for the holiday season. Be safe, be well. My thoughts on Samuelson Says.
Coming up, we'll get in the cab of the new Case IH Steiger Quad Track. Don't go away. Well, folks, our days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer, and you're wondering, how do you fill your evenings? Well, go to the Farm Progress Show. You can see the virtual experience at farmprogressshow.com. And right now, we're going to take you there with a ride-along in a Case IH Steiger.
The AFS Connect Steiger 540 Quad Track with CVX drive. With an 11-shank Econo Tiger 875. The new model year 2021 AFS Connect Steiger brings proven power, efficiency, and connected technology together, giving you the freedom to farm your way. The AFS Connect Steiger 540 Quad Track features the CVX drive transmission. Steigers are still the only articulated four-wheel drive tractors in the industry to offer this option, placing the right power to the ground at the desired speed without compromise. It's available in 370, 420, 470, 500, and 540 Steiger models. The AFS Connect Steiger has a redesigned cab with enhanced ergonomic features, an all-new HVAC and audio system, providing the ultimate convenience and operator comfort. The cab also features a new and easy-to-use 12-inch LED anti-glare Android-based display powered by AFS Connect. With AFS Connect, remote capabilities are added,
to help keep operators in the field, with support features like remote display viewing. This tractor also features new, heavier axles and new hydraulic remote valves with positive hydraulic flow and easier coupling and uncoupling. The AFS Connect Steiger 540 tractor has a 12.9-liter engine with peak horsepower up to 605. The AFS Connect Steigers are available in row track, quad track, wheeled, and scraper tractor configurations. Learn more by talking to your Case IH dealer.
Incredible technology getting that horsepower down on the ground. And folks, that is only one of 100 videos at the Farm Progress virtual experience. So check it out at farmprogressshow.com. And with that, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in with us this week. Next week is Thanksgiving, and from all of us here at This Week in Agribusiness, we wish you the happiest of Thanksgivings.
Closed captioning for This Week in Agribusiness is brought to you by Kubota. Shape your world. This Week in Agribusiness has been brought to you by Pioneer and ADM. This Week in Agribusiness is produced by Omax Communications in association with 22 Creative Group. We invite you to visit us online at agbizweek.com.